Hi, welcome to Business Influencers. I'm your host, Chris Salem. Hope you had a great week. Again, we want to invite all the new guests here a warm welcome. If you found us here at TALRadio at talradio.org. Again, if you are new to us, you could also follow us on Spotify, Apple, and now also YouTube. We have our video portion of the show as well. And we highly encourage you to follow us on all those different areas where you can listen to the show, whether if you prefer audio and or video. Again, our show has been around now for almost 4 years, and we are excited each and every week bringing subject matter experts to share their words of wisdom and insights to help elevate you and your level of influence to the next level. Today's show is being brought to you today by Alumni Direct. Alumni Direct is a new social media community platform dedicated to bringing alumni together from all different generational types and an opportunity to meet new people for the first time. Now, it is a membership program taking out all the noise out of social media. You get to come in and generate genuine and authentic relationships with the people you choose to interact with. If you'd like some more information about Alumni Direct, check them out at alumnidirect.com. That's alumnidirect.com. Well, we got a great show for you today. We're going to be talking about from overcoming adversity and exiting with a game plan. We are here with our guest, Bill Walters. Bill is a dedicated financial advisor and passionate advocate for families navigating complex life challenges with a background shaped by personal resilience from overcoming childhood medical adversity to caring for his mother through 6 years of dementia and raising a daughter with emotional, medical, and psychological needs. Bill brings empathy, strategy, and heart to his work, and he knows firsthand the burden and the beauty of complicated family dynamics, and he channels that lived experience into every conversation with the families he serves. Before becoming a financial guru, Bill walked a deeply personal journey. He witnessed how his mother's suffering could have been minimized with proper professional care and learned the importance of planning ahead, not just financially, but with intention and love. Now he's on a mission to help families like his achieve a lifetime of financial stability and solvency. Now I can keep going on and on, but you're going to learn more about this wonderful human being as he shares, from a personal perspective today. And we welcome Bill Walters to the show. Bill, how you doing today?
Hey, thank you so much, Christopher. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
We love having you here, Bill. And Bill, we always like to get a little background about the topic, when it comes to overcoming adversity and exiting with a game plan. I know this is going to be both on a personal and business level in terms of a game plan, but talk a little bit about, yourself and about, overcoming this adversity. I always find that when we address the challenge to make that better, we can then develop opportunities from them to create results.
So when we start way back, turning back the clock to when I was a child, I was born with hip dysplasia, but I didn't know it. And I was involved in a car accident sitting in the back seat of a 1964 Rambler. And the wheel chassis came off, and we skidded to the side of the curb and hit it really hard, and it jarred my hips, and my hips became dislocated. And it started a process over the next 6 years where I had to relearn how to walk 6 different times. Okay. And the treatment and prognosis was bed rest for 8 weeks. So back in the days of from 1969 up through 1976, TV wasn't TV. You had the Beverly Hillbillies and, Hogan's Heroes and Green Acres and McHale's Navy. And so after you've seen all the reruns, there wasn't much to do. Yeah. And so I had to learn how to rely on my mom for just about everything. And so I take that and say that each time that you have to relearn how to walk and regain balance, people take for granted the little things, like the ability to just get up out of a chair, go to the bathroom, go to the refrigerator. So from a personal side, it's that. But later that grew into being a well-conditioned athlete in high school for cross country and track. And defying the odds. So that's the exciting part, that if you put your mind to it, you can accomplish anything.
Well, I love it. I love how you just turned, in this case, adversity. You showed the grit and the resilience to adapt to what is and to make the most out of what you can control. And those are attributes that we strongly admire in the guests that we bring on this show each and every week. Love it. Talk a little bit about, individuals that are listening to this show right now that might be going through whatever their adversity is. If it could be personal, professional, combination of both. And sometimes they can't even see, amidst all the struggles they might be going through, where there are opportunities to turn that into a successful game plan at the time of exit. If you could share some of the insights, the process that would go into, discovering that and creating an outline strategy for them.
Sure. So first of all, 90% of people that go into business don't know what they're doing other than know that they're working for themselves. So they don't have a game plan or a strategy, right? And and also that same 90%, they don't make it past 3 years, right? And they fail. Not once, not twice, but maybe 3 to 4 times before they really get a clue. So if you're not failing, you're not trying. So once you get an idea of what you want to do and what you love to do, and it no longer becomes work, you enter a different stratosphere. And it's with a positive mindset that you can overcome anything. So the thing I talk about most when I'm meeting with business owners or solopreneurs or entrepreneurs is that when they enter the marketplace, they need to have an exit strategy, a game plan for leaving, something that's written, something that's organized, that can be adjusted, because you want to be able to get your blood and sweat equity out of the business and pay yourself. And that's what most people fail to do, is pay themselves for their blood and sweat equity and have a game plan of exit that leaves them financially secure.
Wow, that's great. Love it. And, with that, again, a lot of times, like you said, we just don't know. It's not our area of expertise. But, it's so important that people are aligning with, experts like yourself that understand this. What else that you feel, when you're exiting, this is a big decision, but having that clarity and having that plan can mean the difference of where they want to be next in their life and in their business, or maybe starting a new business or getting into something new. Can you share a little bit about kind of like, some things that oftentimes maybe people don't think about or don't see if they just trust the process of, working with somebody like yourself that could help them achieve that?
So if I hear you correctly, I'm going to give them some keys to success that other people have done or followed, and some nuggets that they can walk away from with this program and listening to it, right? So the first thing is marketing budget. Do not spend more than 10% of your net earnings, not gross earnings, your net earnings on marketing. Okay. What does that translate? That translates into having this thing called a budget, that 6-letter curse word, and a budget to how to operate your business, meaning what's it going to cost? What am I paying myself? What am I paying myself per transaction? What's my return on the hourly investment? Figuring out what my ideal client looks like and how do I market to them? And I get to that word marketing budget. And it should be no more than 10% of your net earnings. Okay, so you're spending from profit. So 10% rule, having a budget, and having a realistic game plan of who your ideal target is. Key 3 things.
Wow, powerful. And we hope, listeners, that you have taken some notes. You're going to get an opportunity here later in the show, where Bill will provide his contact information. Again, that will also be in the show notes as well. You can do that. Great. So, Bill, what are some things what would be some of the downsides of not planning effectively? Where I'll get to it later. It's not a priority right now. I'm busy working. I got too many issues that I'm tending to right now, but I'll get to it maybe some point when I have time. We probably hear those excuses all the time, especially with business owners. They're always busy. We got too many things happening. Why this has got to be a priority.
So I think the first fallacy of business ownership is that you control your own time schedule, right? That you can get a haircut anytime you want. You can cut out anytime you want. Now, I'm not saying you can't take time off, but in the first 3 to 5 years, you're setting up the success plan or the blueprint for your success. So if you're taking time off, where are you going to catch up? It's okay to take time off, but what do you need to do? What do you need to accomplish? Having a list. So when you set up a game plan, the game plan is set on dividing your time into 3 different things: red, yellow, and green, like the light. Okay. So the time that people don't want to be contacted is the time you do your busy and paperwork. So that means if it's from 6 in the morning to 8 in the morning, then you do your paperwork then. And if that means from 6 to 8 o'clock at night, that's when you finish up your paperwork and know what you're doing the next day. Then you figure out when the people that you want to contact want to be contacted, and that's when you reach out and do your appointments. And that's your green time. And then your yellow time is your follow-up in between your green time. And you mark this in your calendar and you make sure you do it and you adhere to it. Now, when you follow a game plan like this, it gives you accountability and you stay focused. And depending on what type of career you have, whether it requires you to reach out cold calling or to existing clients or certain types of clients, you figure out the time that when most people will be available for a phone call, an email response, etc. So if you're working with a contractor or you're trying to reach contractors, well, everyone knows contractors are busy from at least 9 in the morning to 6 at night. So why are you emailing them, phone calling, and texting them at that time if that's your marketing? Know when they're available and when they respond. Otherwise, it's just going to go into the abyss, right? So know your marketplace. Hopefully that kind of clarifies that.
Yes.
So why don't we talk about why we get into what we do, right?
Yeah, let's talk about that. I like to, because again, all these things that are going to nudge them, again, to make this a priority. Because I feel like, we here with what we do, it's always about foundation, preparation, execution, and measurement. So this fits in so well with what you're talking about.
Yeah, because you need a foundation, right? Now, foundation is both emotionally, financially, and spiritually. Okay. You have to believe in something. Okay. And something needs to believe in you. When you move on from that foundation from a spot of strength, right? If you're not prepared, if you're not organized, it leaves things to chance. And why are you leaving things to chance? Right? Pre-prepared. Think about what you're doing when you're talking to that person. Okay. What do you think their responses are going to be? Have a response already ready for them, because you're anticipating it. Because if you've been in this situation before, and I have, and someone asks you a question, if you're not prepared, you're going to come across as unorganized, unskilled, and why would I want to work with you? Because you can't think on your feet. That doesn't work, right? So again, being prepared, having a strong, firm foundation, and then the growth, reaching out. What does that look like? How do I improve upon that? How do I grow without increasing my hours? I can't cut myself in half. So how do I do it? How do I become more efficient? What things can I do that no one else can do? And what things do I do that I can send out? Get a virtual assistant that the cost per hour is considerably less than my time, and they're way more efficient than I am. And then shave 15 hours of your work week away from doing the redundancy things and put it into customer recruitment.
Love it. I hope everybody is taking notes. This is great information here. Now, Bill, sometimes when what you're sharing, sometimes, it takes a little time for things to sink in with certain people. What do you find, like, with business owners? In this case, we'll just use business owners, because a lot of times, obviously, they got more to gain in their business when they sell the business. What is it like, what you think is going to kind of like some kind of process that's going to resonate with them to take action and make a decision. Why, again, this has got to be something they got to do. Like, I know for me, it's always when people speak to my challenges that could be better and the results I seek and don't have. And sometimes I might not realize that, wow, that is a challenge. It's more than I thought it was at the time. And now I've just elevated it. I think I'm going to do something about it. So anything that you do to kind of nudge that up, from your end.
So can we be frank with the audience, right?
Sure, please. The more frank and direct, the better.
Get rid of the white elephant, right? The biggest issue is the ego of the owner.
I agree.
And if you get them to side check the ego or curb it to a point where they show their vulnerability and they share with you what their true dreams, goals, and desires are, right? You could get them there, but they have to be willing to take a back seat in the world of emotional intelligence and learn, right? Mm-hmm. And once they do that, and they realize that there might be an expert in something that they're not an expert in, that's when their business could double in less than 3 years, right? If they just listen to an expert. And in my line of work, the expert in preparing for retirement and for exit strategies is me, right? But I do it in conjunction with someone who prepares them to make the books look better, lower their expenses, increase their profits, give them a marketable strategy, give them streamlined, workable processes, organize them so that they're out of the way and doing what they do best, which is bring in new clients, right? Get out of the way and let everybody else do their job, and you help grow the business and figure out how you can recruit. How do you train management from within? All these little things that get ignored, that are not in the books that you go to college and read about. And once you realize that you could take care of that, now we have a true game plan where if you're going to exit in 5 years to 15 years, you have profitability higher, you're earning more, and when you leave the business, you're leaving with a big nest egg that can be tax-free income for the rest of your life. That's right, I said tax-free. And you're leaving it not bankrupt because you got your big payday, which is the ultimate goal. The next guy just takes the ball and runs with it. So ultimately, it's a game plan to exit with enough leverage and money so you don't have to work anymore without bankrupting the business.
Love it. Love it. Love great advice. And I hope that resonated with some of you or people that, again, we highly encourage you to share this show with somebody that that can benefit from it. And again, maybe they might be working with a financial advisor at this point. Great. That's a step in the right direction. But make sure that, again, not every planner is going to be apples to apples. Again, based on experience, based on certain things that they may have more of an expertise in. And so this is why you got to do your due diligence and why this has got to be a priority. Bill, anything that we have not covered so far that you feel would be beneficial to the audience to hear when it comes to exiting with the game plan? A lot of times people wait till the end when they're going to exit and don't take the steps necessary to prepare, like you said earlier. But again, what depending upon what their business is, what the difference could be in what they could be getting a payout or an earnout based upon planning ahead.
So the most overlooked is tax implications, both in the current structure and in the future structure. And there are ways to lower your taxes, the amount you're paying in this year's current marketplace, as well as projected forward ways to save that are going to help you with your exit strategy over and above your sales price, okay, that grow money tax deferred. And no, I'm not talking about the old antiquated 401k. And no, I'm not talking about a Roth IRA for tax-free retirement because let's face it, they were invented because the government thought it was necessary, but it limits you. Yeah. So why limit your ability to grow money tax-free with a Roth? And why limit yourself to the rules and regulations of 401k? And while we're at it, if your company does not contribute any money towards the retirement in a 401k, then why are you in it? So just keep in mind that there are many better ways. What the Kennedys and Rockefellers have been doing since the 1920s to go towards retirement that is little known and not exposed to the public because the government wants their taxes. So, yeah, there's a lot of unique ways to exit a business with 2 nest eggs instead of 1. Okay.
Love it. So important. Thank you for sharing that invaluable information there. And I love the stuff about the taxes because, you gotta, a lot of times, unless you have a background on some level, maybe if you were a CPA in a business, or maybe you did accounting at some point or financial planning, you might have some, idea about that. But a lot of business owners don't. And these decisions that they're making right now could be costing them lots of money, or things that they're not doing is going to cost them a lot of money in the long run. So I love what you shared there.
Yeah, the tax savings in the current. Now keep in mind that a CPA is just worried about this year's taxes. And you need to worry, as a plural you, need to worry about this year's and 5 years from now, because you can't keep kicking the can down the road without repercussions. So you want to have a game plan for taxes in the future and a game plan for taxes in the present, lowering the present taxes and also decreasing the amount of taxes you're going to pay in the future. Because it's, what would you rather do? Pay money on the seed or the harvest, right? In the seed, you're paying taxes around 10%. On the harvest, you're paying taxes around 40%. So think about it in those aspects and terms. And, most people are going to say on the seed, and that's right. That's the right answer. So again, reduce your exposure, meet with somebody who does modern, conservative approaches to retirement, and then figure out what your budget is in retirement. Okay. How much does it cost to run your household? What will that be? Do I take vacations? If so, how many do I take? How do I not outlive my savings? Simple questions, right? And yet they go ignored until it's too late in the game.
Well, you definitely, talked about the importance of, the urgency, because again, this is something that requires planning ahead. The better prepared you are ahead of time, the more you can make adjustments to adapt to downturns or things that could be happening in the economy, the industry, depending upon where the business is, all of the above. So true. So true. Anything else as we get towards the end of the show that you'd like to share that you feel can really align with the listener right now, why it's so important to navigate, whatever they're going through to really come out ahead, leave a legacy, forget enough money to start your next venture, whatever that may be. Why, again, this is so important.
So whether your expertise is in real estate or business or just general overall growth, accumulation is the key up to around age 55 to 59. And after that, it's no longer about accumulation. It's about disbursement and reducing your exposure to taxes. But you can't afford to take a hit. And if you look at 2008 and 2021, you see that every 10 to 12 years, we have another crisis. 1998, before that, 1980. So you have all these occurrences happening where you are not in control of your savings. And if you have it invested in the market and take a 40% hit in your market, and it takes 3 to 5 years to get back to break even, and you're already on receiving a fixed income, you're done. You're going to run out of money. Whereas if you go with someone who has an organized floor that prevents you from market losses, so you never lose money moving forward. I said never because it's contractual and it locks it in. You don't have to worry about losing money in the future, and it grows, right? So you're able to not outlive your income and leave a legacy. So you're spending the interest while leaving the principal alone and leaving that legacy for your children or your grandchildren. These are things that can happen. And if you're really well off, you're creating a legacy, you're creating a foundation, right? But it just depends on what your dreams and desires are, right? and creating a vehicle that'll get you there.
Love it. Love it. I wish, Bill, we could spend more time talking to this. We're definitely going to have you on a future show to continue this conversation, or talk on another topic similar to this, because this is just valuable insight. I want to thank you, Bill, for taking the time out of your schedule to be with us here today, and would like to, give you the next minute or so to let the audience know how can they get in touch with you, what are you up to, or anything that you'd like to provide them.
Sure. Thank you so much. First of all, I'll leave my personal cell, 267-278-5062. It's 267-278-5062 for any questions. My website is www.perfectlyimperfectfamilies.com. That's www.perfectly families.com. And if you want to book an appointment, it's simple. https://tax-free.design/let's, without the apostrophe, chat with a hyphen in between to book an appointment.
Beautiful. We'll make sure that, again, those links will be in the show notes for you to easily click on to get in touch with Bill directly. And again, you could also reach out to us, and we'll make sure to connect you to Bill via email, LinkedIn, or his phone number. Bill, thank you so much again for taking the time to be with us here today.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure being a guest.
Thank you. And listeners, we want to thank you each and every week joining us here at Business Influencers. We're committed each and every week in bringing subject matter experts like Bill in to share their words of wisdom and insights to help elevate you, your business, and level of influence to the next level. If there is a content that you would like to see on a future show that we have not covered or in a long time, feel free to reach out to our team here at Chris@ChristopherSalem.com. We'd be more than happy to take that information to do some due diligence to see what we can do for a future show. Till then, everybody, have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you next week at the same time. Take care.